Jennifer, we just want you to know we love you. We're doing everything we can to find you.
In the bustling city of Orlando, Florida, in 2006, a sense of unease lingered in the air on an ordinary winter morning when a young woman vanished without a trace. The city, known for its tourist attractions and vibrant communities, was soon gripped by fear as one woman's disappearance spiraled into a mystery that would haunt the hearts of many for years to come. This is the story of Jennifer Joyce Kesse, a 24-year-old woman with a bright future whose sudden and unexplained disappearance shook her family, friends, and the entire community. Despite an extensive investigation and numerous leads, including a mysterious sighting of someone dumping a rolled-up carpet into a nearby lake months after she vanished, Jennifer's fate remains unknown, and her case continues to baffle law enforcement. As the years have gone by, her family's relentless pursuit of answers has kept her story alive, fueling hope that one day the truth behind her disappearance will finally come to light. Jennifer Joyce Kesse was born on May 20th, 1981, in Orlando, Florida. As she grew up, Jennifer blossomed into a driven, intelligent, and caring young woman. Her family was immensely proud of her accomplishments as she excelled in her studies and activities. Jennifer graduated from Vivian Gaither High School in Tampa before moving on to the University of Central Florida, where she graduated in 2003 with a degree in finance. Shortly after, she secured a finance manager position at Central Florida Investments, a timeshare company in Ocoee. At 24 years old, Jennifer was building a successful life, living independently and excited for the future. She had purchased a condominium at the Mosaic at Millenia complex in Orlando as an investment in her future and a new chapter in her adult life. Jennifer was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend. She was known for her bright spirit and compassion. She shared a close bond with her family, particularly with her parents, Drew and Joyce, and her brother, Logan. Her family and friends were always there for her, so her sudden disappearance in January 2006 left them confused and heartbroken.
The family hopes having this bus and having a detective on this case full-time will help generate leads, but they say Orlando police haven't done enough.
On January 23, 2006, Jennifer had a routine workday at Central Florida Investments. She left work around 6 p.m., called her father, and later spoke with her boyfriend. They discussed her recent trip, a short vacation she had taken with him, which had been a refreshing break from her busy life. This call was the last confirmed interaction anyone had with Jennifer. She was in the habit of calling her boyfriend every morning, so when he did not receive his usual call on January 24th from her, he grew concerned. The morning went by without hearing from her, and when she didn't arrive at work, her employer called her family. She was known as reliable and responsible by her family, so they knew something was wrong. Her parents drove to her condo, hoping she was there, or that they would find some indication of where she might be. When they arrived, there was no sign of forced entry at Jennifer's condo. Inside, the scene suggested that she had started her morning as usual. There was evidence that she had showered, dressed, and prepared for work, as her towel was still damp and her work attire was neatly arranged. Yet she was missing. Nothing seemed out of place, and there were no clear indications of a struggle. 2 days after Jennifer Kesse vanished, on January 23, 2006, a significant lead appeared that offered a glimmer of hope. On January 26th, her black 2006 Chevy Malibu was discovered abandoned at the Huntington on the Green apartment complex, just a mile away from her own condo. The car had been left in a parking lot, but it wasn't the discovery of the vehicle that drew immediate attention. It was the footage captured by the complex's surveillance cameras. The footage showed someone parking Jennifer's car, getting out calmly, and walking away. However, the video quality was so poor that it offered few clues. The figure's face was obscured, and any distinguishing physical characteristics were blurred. It was clear that the individual was male, but the footage did not provide any concrete details about the person's height, build, or clothing. In fact, one journalist later called the suspect the luckiest person of interest ever, given how little evidence the footage offered. The FBI was called in to help determine the person's size and gender based on the blurry footage, but they could only estimate that the individual stood between 5 feet 3 inches and 5 feet 5 inches. NASA also enhanced the video, trying to extract clearer images, but the suspect remained a shadowy figure with few distinguishing features. Despite the efforts, no definitive identification was made, and Jennifer's family and investigators were left frustrated. While the surveillance footage remained inconclusive,
Missing Florida women are taking the investigation into their own hands. 24-year-old Jennifer Kesse disappeared from her Orlando condo nearly 15 years ago.
Investigators turned their attention to Jennifer's car, hoping to find vital clues. The forensic examination of the vehicle yielded only minimal evidence. A latent fingerprint and a small DNA fiber were found, but they provided no breakthrough in the case. It was apparent that the car had been thoroughly wiped down, suggesting that the person who left it behind had gone to great lengths to erase any trace of themselves. Several items were missing from the car, including Jennifer's cell phone, iPod, keys, purse, and briefcase. These missing belongings, along with the fact that her phone remained powered off and her bank account had not been accessed, further deepened the mystery. Jennifer's disappearance appeared increasingly deliberate, and authorities had no clear explanation for why she had vanished without a trace. As is customary in missing person cases, the first people questioned were Jennifer Kesse's family and close friends. Investigators aimed to determine if anyone close to Jennifer might have had a motive to harm her. One of the first people interrogated was her ex-boyfriend, with whom she had ended her relationship before she started dating Rob Allen. His name was Jason S. Schofield, and he had recently expressed a desire to rekindle their relationship. However, it was quickly concluded that he had no involvement in her disappearance. Rob Allen, Jennifer's boyfriend at the time, was also questioned. A British expatriate living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Rob had met Jennifer in 2005 during a visit to Orlando. At the time of her disappearance, Jennifer and Rob had been in a year-long relationship. Though they lived about 3 hours apart, Rob and Jennifer made it a point to see each other every weekend. Joyce, Jennifer's mother, recalled that her daughter was in love, and the couple's bond appeared strong. A week before Jennifer went missing, she had traveled with Rob to St. Croix for a weekend getaway. Rob described the trip as a special time. When Jennifer returned from St. Croix on January 23, 2006, she called her mother on her way into work that morning. Joyce recalled how Jennifer shared every detail about the trip and sounded elated, saying she was on a cloud. It was clear that Jennifer was happy, excited, and full of life after the trip. Later that day, she also spoke to her brother and father, keeping up with her usual communication with her family. Later that evening, at around 10 p.m., Jennifer had her final phone call with Rob Allen. Unfortunately, the conversation did not end on a positive note. Rob confirmed that they had a disagreement during the call, with the strain of the long-distance relationship beginning to take its toll. Despite their occasional struggles, Rob maintained that there was no indication that Jennifer had been upset or fearful about anything during their conversation. Who knows that after this call, Rob would never speak to Jennifer again.
They wrote in their police report that it appeared someone was shoved across the front hood of the car. So, you know, this is not new evidence. We're just hearing and learning about it for the first time. So it's very suspicious. Of course, you know, it would be speculative to say for certain what this means, but it is definitely suspicious, and we've not heard of it all these years.
Investigators paid close attention to Rob Allen during their questioning, as it was not uncommon for people in romantic relationships to be involved in missing persons cases. However, Rob's alibi was verified. He had been in Fort Lauderdale at the time of Jennifer's disappearance, and there was no evidence to suggest that he had played a role in her vanishing. Despite this, Jennifer's family, including her parents Drew and Joyce Kesse, did not rule out the possibility that someone she knew might have been involved. The emotional strain of the investigation, coupled with the fear of not knowing what happened to their loved one, led them to remain vigilant. Jennifer's parents, especially, clung to the hope that someone might come forward with information to shed light on her disappearance. The investigation continued to expand as detectives explored all angles, but Jennifer's loved ones remained focused on finding answers. They never believed that Rob Allen or anyone close to Jennifer had any reason to harm her. Instead, they felt the mystery deepened as the investigation stretched on. Jennifer's case became more than just a missing person investigation. It was a quest for justice and the truth about what had happened to a vibrant young woman who seemed to have a bright future ahead of her. At the time of Jennifer's disappearance, her condominium complex was undergoing significant renovations. Many of the workers at the complex were non-English speaking, which posed a challenge for investigators. Jennifer had told her family that the construction workers often catcalled, whistled, and made her feel uncomfortable. Due to the language barrier, law enforcement was unable to interview many of the workers, leaving them as potential but elusive suspects. The figure seen leaving Jennifer's car in the surveillance footage appeared to be wearing white overalls, similar to those worn by painters or manual laborers. This led investigators to wonder if the individual in the footage could have been one of the construction workers on site at the time of her disappearance. However, without further evidence linking the person in the footage to a specific worker, the lead remained frustratingly inconclusive.
The parents of Jennifer Kesse were in court this morning, and they are asking for the case to be released.
In 2009, detectives received an unexpected lead. During an interview with a former housekeeper who had worked at the complex, the woman was shown footage of the suspect from the CCTV. To law enforcement's surprise, she remarked that the figure's walk, clothing, and hairstyle resembled a man she knew from the complex named Chino. While she could not definitively say it was him, her identification was a clue worth pursuing. Chino was a former maintenance worker at Jennifer's complex who had worked there just a week before Jennifer vanished. He had even lived in another building at the complex. Investigators soon learned that Chino was well known in the complex, and some residents recalled him acting inappropriately toward women. A tip from the early days of the investigation suggested that Chino might have been involved in Jennifer's disappearance, but investigators had no concrete evidence to link him to the crime. The case took another unexpected turn when it was discovered that Chino was already serving time in a Florida prison for statutory rape of a teenage girl, a crime he committed 2 years after Jennifer disappeared. When questioned about Jennifer's case, Chino was cooperative and denied any involvement. He even agreed to take a polygraph test, which he passed. Despite this, the lead went cold once again. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Jennifer's family grew increasingly frustrated with Orlando Police Department, or OPD's, handling of the case. Despite persistent efforts, police did not classify her case as cold, meaning they would not allow additional resources to be allocated. This decision left the Kesses feeling abandoned by law enforcement, who they believed could be doing more. The family's frustration culminated in 2018 when they sued OPD to obtain full access to Jennifer's case records. After a hard-won legal battle, the Kesse family was granted over 16,000 pages of documents and hours of audio and video recordings. They hoped the records would provide new leads and insights into Jennifer's disappearance.
They don't take women to sit them in a corner and look at them. They take women to rape them, to use them, abuse them.
With the case files in hand, the Kesse family hired private investigator Michael Toretta to comb through the material and revisit the scene of the crime. Toretta's first step was to interview former residents of the complex, and what he discovered shocked him. Colleen, a neighbor of Jennifer's, recalled that the complex had once been a safe place to live. However, once workers began living in vacant apartments around the complex, she and other women began to feel uneasy. They had complained to the leasing manager about the workers' inappropriate behavior, but nothing had been done. Toretta also interviewed several other women who had lived in the complex, all of whom expressed similar concerns about the construction workers. One neighbor named Tammy shared that she had noticed strange disturbances in her apartment, such as her underwear drawer being tossed, the shower being wet as if someone had used it, and footprints found in her closet. Tammy even caught a man whom she believed to be one of the workers peeping at her on her patio. The name Chino resurfaced once again. Another woman recalled how Chino would often approach her in the parking lot late at night, making her feel uncomfortable. 9 months after Jennifer disappeared, Chino moved out of the complex in the middle of the night, further arousing suspicion. Toretta eventually tracked down Chino, who was now free after serving time for statutory rape. Despite being cooperative and maintaining his innocence, he again denied any involvement in Jennifer's disappearance.
Obviously, it was a good enough tip that you see the actions of, I don't know how many divers and what have you. I think we had 8 divers at one time.
The 24-year-old went missing back in January of 2006 when she never showed up for work.
Toretta's leading theory is that Jennifer was targeted by one or more workers who had been living in the apartment complex. According to Toretta, the workers, many of whom had been squeezed into one apartment, likely made their move after Jennifer locked her door on the morning of January 23rd. It's believed that they may have dragged her into one of the vacant apartments nearby. Sadly, there is no record of who the workers were, as many were undocumented and had no permanent ties to the complex. Further investigation revealed that 10 months after Jennifer vanished, a person was seen dumping a rolled-up piece of carpet into a lake not far from her condo. This discovery seemed particularly interesting because on the day of Jennifer's disappearance, workers had been laying down carpet in the building across from her. A dive team was sent to search the lake in 2019, but no carpet was ever found. Drew, Joyce, and Logan continued to pursue every potential lead, keeping Jennifer's memory alive in the media and public eye. They created a GoFundMe page to raise money for private investigation expenses and encouraged anyone with information to call a dedicated tip line. Public awareness campaigns, social media appeals, and CrimeCon appearances kept the case in the spotlight, but each new effort failed to produce the answers they desperately sought. Despite the challenges, Jennifer's family remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice. In 2022, after years of lobbying, Jennifer's case was transferred to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, or FDLE. The Kesse family welcomed this shift, believing FDLE's resources and expertise might finally yield the answers they had been seeking. Drew and Joyce Kesse expressed cautious optimism, emphasizing that FDLE's involvement marked a new chapter in the investigation. The agency's advanced forensic tools and investigative resources provided hope that the case might see a breakthrough. Around the same time, Bill Gilmore, Jennifer's uncle, published a book detailing the family's journey and their determination to find her. Through public speaking engagements and appearances at events like CrimeCon, he shared stories about Jennifer's life and the unresolved mysteries surrounding her disappearance. His work further amplified Jennifer's case and highlighted the family's frustration with the OPD's initial handling of evidence and leads.
Jennifer Kesse's parents filed a complaint Monday asking that the Orlando Police Department hand over their documents that outline their investigation. Their then 24-year-old daughter went missing back in 2006, and since then, there have been no suspects and no arrests.
The disappearance of Jennifer Kesse has deeply affected her family, especially her parents, Drew and Joyce, and her brother, Logan. For nearly 2 decades, they've endured emotional pain from the lack of answers. Each year without resolution brings a sense of missed moments, like birthdays and holidays they never shared with Jennifer. Despite the heartbreak, they hold on to hope for closure. The pain extends to their close friends and extended family, who continue supporting the search and raising awareness. The uncertainty weighs heavily, but the family remains united in their belief the mystery will be solved. Logan, the youngest, has witnessed his parents suffering and shares their desire for justice. The Kesses are unwavering in keeping Jennifer's memory alive and seeking the truth. They remain determined to find answers, no matter how long it takes, and will not stop until justice is served. Their perseverance is a testament to their strength, refusing to give up after nearly 2 decades of searching.
Of positivity if you're able to find one, because you can't live sad all the time. You know, you have to be able to move to some degree past the heartache, but the heartache is always there.